So thank you for watching the Rhonda Effect YouTube channel. I'm your host, Rhonda Arnott, and today we are going to be having a EFT session focusing on the stuck energy of grief. If you haven't tried EFT, that's okay. It's a very simple modality that you can take anywhere and do it at any time. So what does EFT stand for? Well, it stands for Emotional Freedom Technique. And it's actually used to move stuck energy. So we all have this life force in us called a chi. And when the chi flows, you have this incredible sense of well-being, body and mind. But what happens when the chi doesn't flow? Ooh, you can start feeling anxious, overwhelmed, and honestly, you can start to experience physical symptoms. So EFT or tapping is a powerful tool to release these emotions and psychological blocks, otherwise known as limiting beliefs. And by tapping on the meridian points on the body, we will be able to shift this energy. It's similar to acupuncture, actually. And there are 8 meridian points within the body. And these points are on the top of the head, on the eyebrow, the side of the eye, under the eye, under the nose, the chin, the collarbone, and just under the armpit, roughly at the bra line. So today, again, we're going to be releasing the heavy and stuck energy that's associated with grief. You may or may not know my backstory. I'm going to share a little bit with you here because I want you to know that I understand what it feels like to have a very heavy, stuck energy of grief. When I was roughly 27, I lost my first husband to cancer. I didn't understand anything of grief, the path I was supposed to walk, why it hurt so bad. And I got stuck for years in this dense, heavy energy. It wasn't until about 5 years after he passed away when I actually started understanding who I am and how to get out of this energy. It took a while. I'm not going to lie to you. It took a while. I did not have these modalities. Had I had these modalities, I'm thinking my journey would have been a little bit quicker. But it's all good because there's so many incredible things that I learned during that time. So I understand what grief feels like. And grief doesn't necessarily have to be about losing a person. It can be a loss of a job. It could be loss of a pet. It could be feeling like a loss of identity for yourself. So don't think that, oh, well, I haven't really experienced losing somebody close to me, that I don't need to do this. There are many times in people's lives that grief, the overwhelming energy of grief, gets washed upon them and they can't get unstuck. So before we begin, I need to ask you a very simple question. On a scale of 0 to 10, where do you feel you are? 0 being my chi is flowing, and 10 it being this is the heaviest feeling I've ever had. I need to move it. Where are you on that scale? Because ultimately the goal after doing this session, you should be at a 0. If you're anywhere in between, don't worry, we are going to stop partway through and reassess and still try and get you to that 0. You can come back to this video anytime and redo it over and over again. There is no right or wrong reason that you can't do this again. So as I mentioned, there are the 8 meridian points. You can't mess this up. Seriously, you can't. If you miss a meridian point, that's okay. If you crisscross, that's okay. If you use a different hand partway through, that's okay. There is no wrong way to do this. Just follow my voice, repeat after me, and keep moving on. It's very simple. The first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to create a setup statement that encompasses the word grief. And we're going to say it 3 times, and we're going to tap on, doesn't matter which hand at all, we're going to tap on that fleshy part of your palm. And we're just going to tap, and we're going to repeat a statement. And from there, we go into the EFT tapping for the meridian points. So I want you to sit comfortably, and I want you to this may or may not be your first time. Just try and not have any distractions. Once you get going in this, you will actually tune your distractions out. Okay, so here we go. Get in a very comfortable position and start tapping. We call this a karate chop. So just start tapping and repeat after me. Even though I feel the deep feeling of grief, I completely accept myself. Even though I feel a deep grief, I completely love myself. Even though I feel this deep grief, I completely and wholly trust myself. So now we're going to start the actual tapping of the meridian points. Again, follow along. You can't mess it up. Just repeat after me, starting with the crown, the top of the head. This grief. The eyebrow. This heavy sadness. The side of the eye. The pain of loss. Under the eye. The emptiness inside. Below the nose. This overwhelming sorrow. Chin. All of this stuck energy of grief. Collarbone. This sadness is weighing me down. Under the arm. Releasing this grief now. Top of the head. This deep grief. This heavy sadness. The pain of loss. The emptiness inside. This overwhelming sorrow. All of this stuck energy of grief. The sadness weighing me down. Releasing this grief now. Back to the top of the head. This deep grief. This heavy sadness. The pain of loss. The emptiness inside. This overwhelming sorrow. This stuck energy of grief. The sadness weighing me down. Releasing this grief now. So I want you to pause a minute. Where are you on that scale of 0 to 10? Where did you start? How much closer are you to 0? If you're at a 0, wonderful. If you're not quite there, go back and re-listen to those first 3 sessions. You can continue at any time. But we are going to continue. We're going to tie in these positive affirmations. And we're going to go through the same meridian points. So starting at the top of the head, I am healing from grief. Over the eye, I allow myself to feel peace. Side of the eye, I'm finding comfort. Below the eye, I surrender. Below the nose, I am open to joy again. The chin, I am releasing this heaviness. Collarbone, I am finding light in the darkness. Under the arm, I am moving through grief with grace. Top of the head, I am healing from grief. I allow myself to feel peace. I am finding comfort. I am surrounded by love. I am open to joy again. I release the heaviness. I am finding light in the darkness. I am moving through grief with grace. Last time at the top of the head. I am healing from grief. I allow myself to feel peace. I am finding comfort. I am surrounded by love. I am open to joy again. I am releasing the heaviness. I am finding light from the darkness. Now I want you to go back to the top. Continue tapping on the top of your head and say these words. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now take a deep breath in and out through your mouth. How do you feel? Do you feel good? Do you feel that energy moving, that chi moving? You know, this tapping exercise or this sequence can be done repeatedly, as I mentioned before. As you find yourself in this energy of grief or overwhelm, just know that there's a way to move through it. It's all about not having the energy stuck so you can live and find that joy and happiness. Remember, it's important to be very gentle with yourself during this process. And if you found that this session was helpful, I encourage you to incorporate EFT into your daily routine. Practice tapping whenever you feel the emotion or weight of grief or any other challenging emotion. And if you'd like to go further, please reach out to me and let's discuss an EFT program that is specific for you and your emotions. So thank you for joining this EFT session. And remember, the power to change is already within you. See you in the next video.